Well, good news, everyone. Today we're taking a short trip along a little bridge. We're headed northbound on Interstate 75 from Mackinaw City to Saint Ignace over the Mackinac Bridge. I'm using my dashcam footage from my True Van N2 Pro. The date and time on the camera is incorrect though. It was recorded on the 4th of September 2019. Along our trip, I'll give you some historical facts and figures about the bridge, which come from the Mackinac Bridge Authority's website. The Mackinac Bridge, also referred to as the Mighty Mac, is currently the 5th longest suspension bridge in the world. In 1998, the Akisha Kyoto Bridge in Japan became the longest, with a total suspension of 12,826 feet. The Mackinac Bridge is the longest suspension bridge in the Western Hemisphere. The total length of the Mackinac Bridge is 26,372 feet. The length of the suspension bridge, including its anchors, is 8,614 feet. The height of the roadway at mid-span is approximately 200 feet above water level. The vertical clearance at normal temperature is 155 feet at the center of the main suspension span and 135 feet at the boundaries of the 3,000-foot navigation channel. All suspension bridges are designed to move to accommodate wind, change in temperature, and weight. It is possible that the deck at center span could move as much as 35 feet east or west due to high winds. This would only happen under severe wind conditions. The deck would not swing or sway, but rather move slowly in one direction based on the force of the direction of the wind. After the wind subsides, the weight of the vehicles crossing would slowly move back into center position. The earliest talk about creating a bridge or tunnel came in 1884, in which the all-year service across the straits by boat had failed, and that if the great east-west route would ever be established through Michigan, a bridge or tunnel would be required. During the years since, there have been a few ideas about how to connect Michigan's two peninsulas. In 1920, the State Highway Commissioner suggested a floating tunnel. Another solution was a series of bridges and causeways that would start at Sheboygan and transverse through the islands and straits and leap across the deep channel to Saint Ignace. In 1923, Governor Fred Greene ordered the State Highway Department to establish a vehicle ferry across the straits. However, within 5 years, traffic became so heavy he ordered the agency to make a bridge feasibility study, which at the time estimated the bridge would cost $30 million. This project was eventually dropped. In 1934, legislation created the Mackinac Straits Bridge Authorities of Michigan and empowered it to investigate the feasibility of such construction and to finance the work by issuances of revenue bonds. The authority made 2 attempts in 1934 and 1936 to obtain loans and grants from the Federal Emergency Administration of Public Works, but were refused both applications despite endorsements by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and reports that President Roosevelt favored the bridge. Preliminary plans for a double suspension span were drawn up, and the possibility of the bridge became very real. But the armies of Europe began to march, and the bridge progress came to a halt. Finally, in 1947, the state legislature abolished the Mackinac Straits Bridge Authorities. Again, the bridge backers swung into action and a citizens committee was established to obtain legislation recreating a bridge authority. By 1950, legislation was enacted, but it limited the newly created authority to determine feasibility only. In 1951, the authorities submitted a preliminary report stating that the bridge could be built and financed with revenue bonds for $86 million. But because of the shortage of materials due to the Korean outbreak, legislation to finance and build the structure was delayed until early 1952. Immediately, the authority asked the Reconstruction Finance Corporation to purchase $85 million worth of bonds. While the agency was studying the request, a private investment banker became interested in the project and offered to manage the group investment company, which would underwrite the sale of the bonds. The authority accepted the offer and was ready to offer its bonds for sale by March of 1953. There were not enough takers to guarantee a successful underwriting. The money market had weakened. In order to make the bonds more attractive, the legislature passed an act during the spring of 1953, whereby the operating and maintenance costs of the structure up to $417,000 annually would be paid for out of gasoline and license plate taxes. Another effort to finance with this added incentive was successful later in 1953 after the market recovered, and over $99 million worth of Mackinac Bridge bonds were bought by investors all over the country. Contracts which had been awarded contingent upon this financing were immediately implemented. The 5-mile bridge, including the approaches, and the world's largest suspension bridge between cable anchors, have been designed by the great engineer Dr. David B. Steinman. Marriott, Chapman, and Scott Corporation agreed to build all the foundations, led to the mobilization of the largest construction fleet ever assembled. The American Bridge Division of the United States Steel Corporation, contracted to build the superstructures, began at work of planning and assembling. The U.S. steel mills in various shapes, plates, bars, wires, cables, and steel necessary for the superstructure and for the caissons and cofferdams of the foundations were prepared. The bridge was officially begun amid proper ceremonies on May 7th and 8th of 1954 at Saint Ignace in Mackinaw City. The bridge opened to traffic the 1st of November in 1957. According to the schedule, despite the many hazards of marine construction over the turbulent Straits of Mackinac, the last of the Mackinac Bridge bonds were retired the 1st of July 1986. Fair revenues are now used to operate and maintain the bridge and repay the state of Michigan for monies advanced to the authority since the facility opened to traffic in 1957. During the construction of the bridge in the 1950s, 5 men unfortunately lost their lives, and after the bridge was opened, a maintenance worker lost his life in 1997. In May 2014, the Michigan Department of Transportation and the Mackinac Bridge Authority presented a special plaque in honor of these men, which is located at Clare Welcome Center in Clare, Michigan. I hope you enjoyed this little trip across the Mackinac Bridge, and we're getting ready to come to the toll booth. It is $2 an axle for cars, so that would be $4 one way, or $5 an axle for any vehicle that's not a car, so that would be, for me, $10 to pass over this bridge. But it was well worth it. There is actually services that will have someone drive your vehicle over if you're scared of driving over this bridge. And there are also services that if you're a pedestrian and want to get over, or if you're a bicyclist, or in the winter have the snowmobile, there's also programs for you to get over the bridge as well. So again, I hope you enjoyed this, and if you did, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Also comment down below, and thanks for watching.